Welcome to the Jeremiah Show. This is season 13. Can you believe it? It's the first episode of season 13. And man, do I have a great guest for episode one. We've been away since December 1st, 2024. I've never taken that long of a break. But if you're wondering where we were, our radio station sold. So we had to look for a new home. I found a new home. And then I didn't like my new home. So we've looked for other studios and here we are. It's what is it, February 19th? I'm so sorry. I've missed all of you a lot. But I could not believe never in all the years that we've been doing this, almost 10 years, have we had so many hits and downloads on the podcast. So I guess you guys missed me too. Um, if you never heard of the show, a very, very warm welcome to you. I'm really happy that you're here. And for the loyal listeners over the years, I want to thank you again for, like I said, blowing up the podcast for the last few months while we were off air. So, the special show for you today, season 13, episode one, we welcome a new friend of the show, Allan D. Rich. Allan is a two-time Oscar, Grammy, Golden Globe, and Emmy nominated songwriter whose songs have sold more than 65 million copies around the world. Wow. Um, I'm going to tell you more about him throughout the show, but I want to tell you a story first. So, some people have that thing that draws us to them. It can't be bought, it can't be faked, it's real. He pulled up in a fast car, the wheels already turned, facing back from where he had entered the circular driveway, edge of the canyons, high above the LA skyline, home of the Rosses, home to Laurel Canyon Live. Taylor Swift had just spent 2 weeks scoring her Eras tour movie hit there. Beyonce was coming later that week to do the very same. And this is my first time there. So I stood at the entrance admiring the skyline. I was one of the first guests to arrive. I was a guest of Jonathan Platt, general manager of Yoshiki. I imagined as I looked out over the beautiful scenery of LA sprawled out before me and in the canyons, I imagined the musicians who had been inspired by these canyons, who had played to the coyotes and howled with their friends at the moon. I was there for a private screening of the Yoshiki film Under the Sky. Back to that fast car. And then he popped out of the car and his friend joined him. They made an entrance without even trying. The valets turned and the hostess greeted them and she complimented their great fashion. There was that thing. They had it. What is that? It's that thing where many people, for no real known reason, are drawn to one particular individual. I think it's a light in a person, isn't it, that we're drawn to? They often compare that thing like moths to a flame. Moths are drawn to light because of a phenomenon known as positive photoaxis. The theory is that moths can use the moon or the stars or light to orientate themselves. So I think that this theory works for people too. Some people are just light for the rest of us to orientate and to readjust. My special guest today has that light. He has that thing. And again, Allan D. Rich is my special guest. Allan and his friend had planted themselves before the large glass windows. The sun was setting, and a small group of people gathered around him. I was one of them. The date was November 5th. It was less than a month from the horrible attack on Israel. Hollywood was tense, and you could feel it. The whole world was tense. The conversation was about how the Hollywood Jewish community was scared. And I was drawn in by the power of that realization that this was really happening, that this still could happen. And not knowing what to say, I just listened. I felt the sadness that they felt. I could feel the fear and disbelief. Later, after the movie, after a little private concert by Yoshiki, I bumped into Alan and I introduced myself. And I told him how his earlier conversation had made me think all night. It was all I could think about. In the background, Yoshiki played the piano. Alan's mood had lifted. His whole face was different, his demeanor. And he commented about how the film and the music had just lifted his spirits. Once again, as music often does. He confessed to me that he wasn't going to go out that night. He got the invite, but didn't think he would go out. But when he saw that it was a musical performance, he decided that he had to go. It was what he had needed for his soul. So, music is our topic today. Allan D. is our special guest. And we're specifically going to talk about Allan and Judd's music. Judd is his writing partner for 25 years. You see, they have a source for that light. Their incredible skill at crafting songs that the whole world sings. Again, Allan Rich is a two-time Academy Award, Grammy, and Golden Globe nominee. Songs have reached and sold over 65 million copies. He has written hits for everyone from Natalie Cole, I Live for Your Love. Love that song. James Ingram, the #1 pop hit, I Don't Have the Heart to Hurt You. Whitney Houston, Run to You from the movie The Bodyguard, which sold 30 million CDs and got Allan his first Oscar and Grammy nomination. Kenny Loggins, our friend here from Santa Barbara, for the first time from the Michelle Pfeiffer and George Clooney movie One Fine Day, which got Allan another Oscar, a Grammy, and a Golden Globe nomination. NSYNC. I really enjoyed watching this video today and seeing JT in his younger days. I drive myself crazy from their 10 million selling debut CD, as well as songs recorded by Barbra Streisand, Tina Turner, Rod Stewart, Luther Vandross, Dolly Parton, Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, Barry Manilow, and so many more. Allan D. Rich, welcome, Allan.
Wow, is that me? I-
You're amazing. I didn't even touch on half of it. You're an amazing man.
Well, I got to tell you something. I don't think I've ever had a more beautiful introduction. You
Oh,
definitely have the heart of a writer, and I'm not just saying that. You just moved me in your introduction. I don't know
well,
if I can top that.
you really moved me, and that's the truth. That it- w- I would imagine you would know this from songwriting. You have to be moved to write something that's powerful that moves others, right? And you did that for me that night, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. And so that inspired the writing that you like. But thank you for the compliment.
Well, you deserve the compliment because I really am. I'm touched by what you said, and I will say that Judd and I, from the day we met, our goal has always been to move and touch people through our songs. That's what we care most about, to be honest, authentic, and move and touch people. So if we've done that, then we've done our job, and that we've done what we really set out to do.
Well, we're gonna play a lot of your. They're all. I mean, there's the hits just keep coming. And I looked at it. How do we have 7 songs that we can play? And I thought, how do we shorten this huge career, all these great songs to 7? I mean, that's really hard to do. But I think it will give everyone a real, when they hear them, their favorite songs. They know them. They're going to get an idea that what you're talking about, what your goal is, you and Jed's goal, that you've accomplished that. Because there's some of the best songs and feel good songs that we've all grown up with and live with daily. So what is that thing you have, Alan? Do you know?
I don't know, and I don't want to know. I just want to hopefully have it. You know,
Or-
I will say this: my life has never gone the way I expected it to. And things have happened. There have been divine interventions that have changed the course of my life that I would never have expected, including meeting Judd. Judd, Judd had a publisher who he was about to sign with, and this was 1989. I just had my first hit record with "I Live for Your Love," and Kathy Spanberger, who was the CFO or CEO of Pure Music, and was my friend. We were having lunch, and she said, I'm about to sign this young guy, and I think the two of you would have magic together. Do you have a lyric? And I said, I do have a lyric. I have a verse and a chorus to this song called "I Don't Have the Heart," but I don't want to give it to anybody until I finish the second verse. And she said, oh no, I'm calling Judd right now and you're giving it to me. Next thing I know, I am on the phone with Judd. I read him the first verse and the first chorus. And I think it was 9 days later, we finished our first song. And here's what's so crazy. I had struggled for so many years. I had struggled for 8 years as a waiter. And the first song we ever wrote together was a #1 song in America. And the second song we wrote was a #1 adult contemporary song in America. And, I had written songs with people before and I've had cuts before, but I knew that I had found my Burt Bacharach. And it was such an amazing, I guess it's like finding your musical soulmate. I guess if you find someone who you love so much and marry, which I've never been married, it must be the same thing. But Judd and I have had this thing, and for it's now over 30 years, and we just speak the same language, and and our lives are totally different. He's married, he has kids. I'm single, don't have any kids, never, but at
What
the
is it then? Have you thought about it? I'm sure you thought about it over the years. Can you even define it? Or is it like that thing?
I just feel
It's
lucky.
undefinable. You just know when you know.
Yes, I just feel lucky, and I feel blessed that we found each other, and that we have such mutual respect for each other. We both shoot for the same things. We always want to move and touch people, and we get along like brothers from another mother. But we have our differences, but we always work them out. And so I feel like the luckiest person, because that's not something that happens. That happens once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
You
If
find
that.
somebody that you really feel is your musical soulmate. It's very hard to come by, but I do have it.
Well,
You know,
let me ask you this because I'm so curious, and I'm sure others are too. Songwriting is a little bit of a mystery. When you hear a song by an artist, a lot of times you think, oh, that artist wrote that and then sang that, right? And but a lot of the hits, a lot of the big artists find songwriters like you that and and then take that song and make it their own, right? And they bring it to life in a different way. So what is that? Can you define what it's like between a songwriter and then the singer, that relationship? It's got to be a very intimate relationship.
yeah,
And
I'll tell you about that. But I have another intimate relationship that is trying to get my attention. So
the Charlie,
to Charlie. It's Charlie.
your other co-songwriter.
This is the love of my life.
Does Charlie sing well? I bet he does.
Well, he inspires me because to have patience and I have unconditional love. I can never get mad at him because I love him so much, and he has so little of me. But
And
anyway,
if you got to watch the YouTube video because obviously Charlie loves you. It's a mutual love.
yeah.
He's
So
licking your face.
here's the thing. Many times, as songwriters, when you were talking about an artist, but it works that way with songwriters as well. When I first met Judd, I would write a lyric because I'm more of a lyric writer with a good, very, very good melody sense and a good melody editing sense. Judd is a great melody writer, and he also he's a very good lyricist. But when we met, our relationship was one of I handed him a lyric on a page, and I felt very insecure and very I'm a simple, if I can make you laugh, because it's true, I call myself a missionary position songwriter because I'm kind of a very traditional lyricist.
You
I,
got me.
I don't write like, I wish I wrote beautiful, um, you know, images and very abstract lyrics, but I write very conversational lyrics. And I write it as if a person was talking to another person.
Do
So
you think that's why they connect so well, though? Because I was kind of taking apart your lyrics and going, that just, you're right. You say it. Sorry to
I try
interrupt
to
you, but
say it in a way that is very conversational, and then I try to add a twist in the lyric. And so
give me an example of that, if
I,
you could.
I will give you an example. Like for example, when I wrote the first verse and first chorus to I Don't Have the Heart, the first verse was, your face is beaming. You say it's because you're dreaming of how good it's going to be. You say you've been around and now you finally found everything you wanted and needed in me. And so I've set up the song that you
Mm,
think is going to be a really happy song.
hmm.
But then comes the chorus. I don't have the heart to hurt you. It's the last thing I want to do. But I don't have the heart to love you, not the way you want me to. Boom. Luther Vandross, may he rest in peace, called me and said, Allan, every time that song comes on, I have to shut the radio because it hurts me so bad. And to me, that was an ultimate compliment because I was trying to say something in a way. It was a, I care about you, but I don't love you the way you love me in a very, I think the chorus says it in a very heartfelt,
Yeah.
because, we use I don't have the heart, which is kind of a cliche, I don't have the heart to hurt you. But you've never heard someone say, I don't have the heart to love you. And so it adds some real emotion to the song. My Ray
It
Charles,
connects too.
and
Like
it,
who,
and it
every human being has probably felt that at
yeah,
some
it
point.
gives you pain in the soul. Even though it's said very simply. You know, my Ray Charles song, for example, that I wrote with Judd. When I wrote the whole lyric for myself because I was feeling really bad inside, and I was trying to heal myself a little. And when I gave it to Judd, Judd initially did not want to write music. He said, who's gonna record a song with the title God in it? But the chorus was, no, the verse was, I am lost. I've been led astray. Once again, I need your light and love to lead the way. I know I don't deserve it, but I promise it's the end. If you rescue me just one more time, you'll never have to do it again. And then here comes the twist. So help me God. So help me God. So help me God. So I used to help me God two different ways. And Judd in the middle of the night heard a melody and went to his piano and he wrote the most beautiful melody. And what Judd has always done with my lyrics, he has always elevated my lyrics where I look better than I really even am. He takes it and makes me look like, wow, because when it's on a page, it's very flat and it's very babyish in a way, and it's very conversational, but it doesn't look like, but when the right music is put to it, my lyrics came to life, and Judd does that all the time.
I bet he'd say the same thing about you, that you bring his gift to life,
Well,
what
I
he
hope so.
contributes.
I hope
Mhm.
so. I mean, he always says, and I appreciate that when he first got the lyric to I Don't Have the Heart, he almost fell off his chair because he had never heard anybody say anything like that in the chorus. Um, and the power of that, and I appreciated that. And of course, he helped me with the second verse and the bridge. Uh, um, the second song we ever wrote, I had 3 pages of notes that Judd helped me whittle down. But this was my idea, my initial idea. It was called I Just Had to Hear Your Voice, that Oleta Adams recorded. And I wanted to just write a little song about someone, because I know how I have a longing for people. And I'm not able, when someone is mad at me, it really kills me because, and if someone would tell me they didn't want to talk to me for a little while, it would kill me. But the chorus, the song was, I know you thought it best that we spend a little time apart, but one night without you is too much for my heart. I know I promised not to call. I'm sorry, but I didn't have a choice. I just had to hear your voice. And at the end of the song, when the song goes, I just had to hear your voice, though I know it wasn't right. I just had to hear your voice. And the typical way would go to be, I just had to hear your voice tonight. But I said, no. I said, I just had to hear your voice. Good night. And he didn't even speak to her. He just heard the sound of her voice and he hung up. And so it took the song at the end to a different place that might be typical. And it made it very, very, so heartfelt and so, it hurt, the song hurt a lot. And I think it was universal. We've all been there where someone may be mad at us or we break up with someone, the pain is so strong. And so Judd took my lyric that I initially started with, we whittled it down, and he made this beautiful melody that made just broke your heart. And that's what I feel Judd has done consistently for our 30 years of songwriting.
It sounds like you're almost do you feel, Alan, this way that you're like almost it's like a raw nerve emotionally when a relationship goes wrong or doesn't work out the way you'd want it to, and you're almost like exposed like a raw nerve would be, but it's almost like a lightning rod, it sounds like, for
Well,
your
it's
art
funny you
form,
say that
your
because
writing.
Judd calls me his emotional Geiger counter. He always looks to me and said, does that ring true? Now I'll tell you a story that I don't always tell people. For example, Run to You, our Whitney Houston song. Now we wrote it specifically for Whitney. There was a breakdown 2-page sheet that every songwriter got in America about this new movie. And he's going to star Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston. And they had 4 songs, main songs they were looking for. Well, one ended up being I Will Always Love You, which was not an original song. It was already written by Dolly Parton. It's an incredible song. Then there was I'm Every Woman, which was a Shaka Khan, that Ashford and Simpson wrote. Then David Foster, being the legendary producer and songwriter, you knew he was going to land one song, and he wrote Linda Thompson, I Have Nothing. And there was literally one, this is what I mean, there was one song for every songwriter in America to land. And I don't know, there was divine intervention and a lot of hard work, how Judd and I landed that, and people say, my God, that song has so much passion in it. Well, what nobody knows, and that I'm telling you, is that it was written specifically for Whitney Houston, but it coincided with a 10-year breakup in my own life. And I wrote this song for a person in my life who I was breaking up with. And what happened was I dropped this person was in my car. We had been breaking up and breaking up for the longest time. And I knew this time, this was it. They were in my car. I watched them walk out of my car. They still live on Sycamore in Hollywood. They were at a building with a glass walkway. They were walking up the steps to their apartment, and I could see it because it was a glass wall. And my initial reaction was to run to them. And what I did instead was I pulled out and I knew that I couldn't do it. I pulled out a piece of paper and I sat at the steering wheel. And this was the original chorus I wrote. I want to run to you. I want to run to you, just like I always did before. I'm knocking at your door. I want to run to you. How I want to come to you. But you're not there to run to anymore. That's what I wrote at the steering wheel. And rather than chase after the person, I wrote that right at the steering wheel. And so that was the original chorus to
Wow.
the Run to You. What ended up happening is we ended up having to change it to it was a breakup song, but the director changed the scene to a Take a Chance on You scene. And so we had to rewrite the whole song, except for
Wow.
and the chorus ended up being, I want to run to you. I want to run to you. Won't you take me in your arms? Keep me safe from harm. I want to run to you. But if I come to you, will you stay or will you run away? And so there was a Take a Chance on Me song. Now, I always felt the original version really took a knife to my heart, but you can't be precious about things when it's about, when the director calls you and asks you and tells you they changed the scene. But that song, the pain you feel in that song, was based on a 10-year breakup.
Mm, how powerful. And what, again, another universal feeling we've all had, that where you look, you could have done, you could have said this, but you said that, or you didn't say anything at all. You could have chased them, but you didn't. You know, like we feel that. We feel what you're expressing.
You know,
And back to you being that human barometer for
have you seen that movie?
judge.
Have you seen that movie Past Lives?
I just watched that. I loved it.
It's such
That
a
was so,
beautiful, beautiful movie.
yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to go to the screening and then go to the reception with the cast and the director
Oh
and the
my God.
star. And I walked over to the director and the star, and because if you remember what happens, they're two young kids who grow up together in Korea and love each other, and they think they're going to end up getting married. Her and her family moves to America, and their lives change drastically. And and the guy who stayed in Korea is always pined for her and wondered if they still had something together. And he eventually flies to America to see her, even though she's married to
The
somebody
way
else.
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, when I met them, she was the adult in the room, and I said to them, if that had been me, I know that I would have done something that I would have regretted my whole life. Because I know, even though I was married, I probably would have done something that I would have been sorry for. And because the 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 childhood and the love between the two of them was there. She just knew that was her childhood, and it was not part of her present. And she didn't act on it, but I would fear that if it was me,
Yeah,
I would
because
have
you have
acted
that.
on it and ruined, and it wouldn't worked out with the past, and it would have broken up something in my future and my present.
I thought it was so subtle, that whole storyline. Even the boyfriend or the husband that she had currently,
Mhm.
um, how he sat there, how he supported it, but didn't. But you could feel his jealousy and his
And it,
the
and
way. I
the
mean, they
consequence
did.
was, hey, he was scared she was going to leave too.
Yeah, and then saw her sobbing. I don't want to ruin the end for anybody. You
The
have to
ending
see it.
was that
Past
was one of
lives.
the most
Oh
incredible
my God,
endings.
so powerful.
Let it out, but that's I'm not always the adult in the room, and when I'm a songwriter, I don't always have to be the adult in the room. Because so many people have done things, acted impulsively, acted out of a moment that they end up regretting, or that they end up feeling, wow, that was the best thing I ever did. But I get to explore that as a songwriter, you know.
Yeah. Well, and we get to enjoy it, and we've enjoyed many hours with your music. My special guest today is Allan D. Rich. We're actually going out right now with Natalie Cole's "I Live for Your Love." And speaking of, I just had to hear your voice, the story we just heard. Alita Adams, we're coming back in with that. Let me give you out some information here on Allan D. Rich and how you can find his music, find more about him and out about him. Um, go to, you can go to a couple different places. I'm going to start with his website, allanrichsongs.com. Facebook and Instagram, Allan Rich LA. So go to Facebook or Instagram, follow.
Alan
Yes,
is spelled with Allan because they spell it so many different ways, and you'll never find it unless it's
good point. Allan D. Rich is a two-time Oscar, Grammy, Golden Globe, and Emmy-nominated songwriter whose songs have sold more than 65 million copies around the world. And you know them, you love them. You're going to sing them right now because we're going to go to break and listen to them. Um, Allan D. Rich is my special guest, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.